name is Melissa Forsyth, and I'm here today to present to you discrimination against the hearing impaired. Today, um, it's more frequent that you do see hearing impaired kids as well as adults because, of course, they go from a child to an adult. Some of them become deaf at birth. It could be hereditary. It could just be that the child was born deaf for no apparent reason. Um, People can become deaf later on and age as well for different reasons because of sicknesses, because of ear infections. Also, people can become deaf from listening to extremely loud noises, such as the radio, um, loud booms, or working in a workplace that has loud specific noises. And if they don't wear earring, sorry, earplugs, they can become deaf as well because it damages the eardrum. Because our ears are only capable to a certain decibel for hearing. So if it goes beyond that decibel, it could affect our hearing, and then eventually we could go deaf. My dad, from a personal experience, he is deaf in his right ear because of the fact of when he was younger, not only did he listen to extremely loud music, but he also had multiple ear infections, which caused him to go deaf in his right ear. So if I talk to him or if anybody talks to him, we cannot talk to him on his right side because you cannot hear him. So it makes it complicated. You see a lot of discrimination against the deaf, not only in public and schools, but also in the workforce. In the workforce, it's more complicated because a lot of people, they don't intend to discriminate against the deaf, but it does happen because not only does the boss or the owner not know what to say or how to react to the deaf, but also the deaf is the same way. They don't know how to react to a hearing person. They don't know how to react to a hearing world because all they've heard all their life or partial life is silence. We need to be able to accommodate them. According to the article that I read, Fighting Workplace Discrimination Against the Deaf, if the bosses as well as the associates and the hearing impaired, if they take steps to help one another and compromising on how to interact with one another, find ways that can work so they can interact with the hearing impaired, so they can interact with the hearing. If they can find ways to help, that there's going to be less discrimination. Now, it's not meant to discriminate against the deaf. It's just they don't know how to interact with one another from the hearing world to the hearing impaired world. So it makes it complicated, and they just happen to end up discriminating. Also, we see a lot of people that will discriminate against the deaf. Oh, that deaf person's driving. They shouldn't be driving because they can't hear. So if I honk my horn, they're not going to hear me. Well, you're discriminating them. Just because they're deaf doesn't mean they can't drive. They can drive just as well as we can. Just because they can't hear sirens, they can't hear the horn, they have rear mirrors. They have mirrors just like we do. They can drive. Sometimes they may be just as better drivers as we are. Also, according to the rights of hearing impaired are conducted through the Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It covers them in the workplace. They cannot be discriminated because of them being hearing impaired. They have to be able to have a job. They can work just as well as we can. We just have to make accommodations for them. According to NAD.gov, which is the National Association of the Deaf website, companies that are private or just a big company in general, they have to ensure an equal opportunity during an application process to enable the employee to perform the essential function of a job, as well as allow the employee to enjoy equal benefits and privileges of employment. which is just like you and I. Just because they're deaf, they can't. They have to be able to. Just to give them the equal opportunity. They can't just discriminate them because they're deaf. They have to find ways to help them. And according to the EEOC.gov website, in 2011, a study from Johns Hopkins recorded that nearly 20% of Americans 12 and older have hearing loss, so severe that it makes their communication difficult. They also say that nearly 30 million Americans have hearing loss in both ears. 15% of those Americans between the ages of 20 and 69, which happens to be 26 million people, have high frequency hearing loss, like I said earlier, that's due to exposure to loud sounds and noises at work or during leisure activities. One way that we can help the hearing impaired is we can start doing and not discriminating. We need to start implementing TTY services, which is a phone service that a hearing person will answer and they relay to the hearing impaired, and the hearing impaired will type and the hearing person will relay to the person on the other end. We can do video conferences, emails, videos, etc. So we need to stop discriminating against the deaf and allow them to have the same opportunities that we do in a job as anybody else would. Thank you.